Hello, and welcome back to the Bright Light Wellness YouTube channel and also the Bright Light Wellness Substack. This will be on both platforms for you guys. And today I want to have a fun conversation with you about Sarcodes. I say that word and you're like, what's a Sarcode? Sarcodes is organ support. In homeopathic terms, we called organ support Sarcodes. And organ support remedies is just Sarcodes are another word for organ support remedies in homeopathy. And they're pretty popular to use, especially for chronic illness and people who are using detoxes. And some people might be overdoing them or using them in the way that actually can install healing, especially deeper healing. So we're going to chat about that today. Okay. We're going to stay grounded with it and just tell about you how I use Sarcodes in my practice and how they can be supportive to you. Um, so Sarcodes are remedies made from healthy tissue, like liver, kidney, thyroid, and they're used to support the functions of these organs. They are in homeopathic preparation, like a low potency. So if you took a thyroid in a 6C, or 6X even. Okay, let's talk about what a C and X means. X means dilution of 10, C means dilution of 100. So it's one drop to 10 or one drop to 100. X is one drop to 10, C is one drop to 100. So it's diluted and succussed, right? And that's done 6 times, say in a 6X. So there's going to be some actual physical substance still left. Anything under a 12C and below, and all X's would be included, there'll be some physical substance left, but there also is an energetic component. So it helps to recalibrate, helps to the organ get a little bit of an energetic boost, a little bit of support. Okay. Um, and they're just good organ supports. They're not suppressive, they're not a supplement. They're more regulatory. They're more an energetic vibration of what healthy tissue should act like. So they regulate organ function. Okay. So these sarcodes are not main drivers of healing, but they are supportive tools, okay? Um, and I take them and I use them. I'm making custom blends now. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but I use an organ blend called Poly Organ Plus, which is not, and I added some custom in mine. I added thyroid and bladder in mine because, no, I didn't add thyroid. I added thymus gland and bladder in mine to support me and my immune system and my bladder health. And it's been really, really supportive. And I take it a couple times a week. In fact, the chemtrails were out yesterday, and I was like, I don't fear going outside, of course, but I do take some extra organ support to help my body detoxify. And there are specific remedies in there that not only support organs, but they also support drainage of kidneys, liver, lymph, things like that. So that's why I use those. And of course, this is a nuanced conversation of if and when, why, where I use this with clients. I don't recommend this to all clients. I recommend it as an as needed basis. When I see detox pathways are clogged up, right? I see that the person is not, stool, urine, sweat, like they're not doing these things regularly. I can see detoxification is really struggling. I can see as I'm using homeopathic remedies that things are getting a little bit stuck and stagnant and not moving as much as I'd like to. So the homeopathy is, nudging the system, causing some detox, and it needs a little bit of more support, right? This is when I come in with these things. Okay. So anyway, organ when an organ is clearly under functioning, right, we're going to use these. So maybe there's sluggish liver, there's poor drainage, there might be chronic constipation, skin issues, lymphatic stagnation. We're not overrunning the body, we're supporting the area that's struggling to keep up, like the drainage or the liver is not keeping up, right? So when detox pathways are blocked, this is a big one with any kind of environmental toxins or even medication loads. In fact, if I'm doing a homeopathic detox of medications with somebody, this is where I do want to bring in sarcodes because we need to make sure that the organs can actually keep up with it. Um, the body, when they're blocked, people can get overwhelmed. There can be detox reactions, Herxheimer's reactions, things are not moving. So Sarcodes can help gently open up those pathways so the system can be able to can handle what is being processed, basically. Um, so when you give a well-selected remedy and there's some movement, but things are starting to plateau, nothing's progressing or symptoms are circling, sometimes the body needs a little support at the physical level to keep things moving. Okay. And this happens. I see, clients where the mental emotional is getting better, but the physical is kind of stuck sometimes. This is when another a good reason to bring Sarcodes in. And for really sensitive clients, jumping straight into deeper remedies can be really harsh on their system, like they can't handle it. So organ supports can help kind of build up the capacity and create more stability before we can jump into these more deeper acting, remedies that they need, because obviously they need them, right? But sometimes we need to just kind of beef up the system a bit before their body has enough energetic capacity to use them. So I don't sometimes I'll use one organ support and sometimes I will use multiple organ supports. Like have the capacity and I do make custom organ blends for clients. So I notice what's off. So I can put liver, thyroid, adrenals, whatever I decide, lymphatic system, um, anything I want in a gallbladder into a custom blend for somebody, right? Pituitary gland, pineal gland, whatever, thymus gland, whatever I feel like they need, right? I assess that during my sessions, right? Um, so sometimes I use one, sometimes just a good liver support's helpful, but sometimes I use a combination and I will customly make that combination for my client. I do make custom remedies, but I only give that out to clients. Um, but you have to teeter, because we have to be careful. We don't want to use too many. We don't want to push too high potency or frequency or pushing the system too much or pushing detox too much. This is why you must work with somebody. And that's if we are using them too much, then people can feel worse, overwhelmed, and reactive, right? So another really important thing is like we could support the liver all day long, but if the nervous system is stuck in survival, the body will still hold on to everything. And that's why flower essences and homeopathy are so important. So this is why I don't separate things in my practice. I use a multitude of tools, right? So SAR codes support the body, homeopathy is guiding the system, it's emotionally supporting it, and then emotional work can release. Okay. I use flower essences as well, which I mention all the time, and each one of these things has a role. Okay. So I might give a liver support alongside a remedy when I can see their stagnation and the system starts moving, emotions come up, energy shift, and symptoms change. Okay. So it's not really about doing more, it's about doing what the body can actually respond to. So sarcodes can be incredibly helpful when they're used at the right time, in the right way, but they're not a shortcut to healing. They are support. Okay. So I don't just they're not gonna make things, they're not like quick fixes, but they are a good support tool. And knowing when they use them and when to not is a big part that makes the work effective. So knowing when and why to put it in. Like I can see like the vital force with homeopathy is being pushed, but the detox is slow. Or I can see in the beginning that this person has all their detox pathways are real clogged. That's a good time. If I see that I need to do a homeopathic clear or of a drug layer, I might start with some polyorgan or some different organ remedies to support them before I do this clear. Okay. Um, so just to go over like a couple of different SAR codes that I use in my practice, just so you know, like some of the SAR codes I use them and how to think about them. Again, this is not something you should go out and buy on your own, but just so you kind of know, liver is one that I use often. So if there's congestion, there's overload, there's irritability in the system, liver and anger are very connected. So if you see liver and anger, like you see anger, there's probably a liver component. And these people, will have, kind of like chemical sensitivities because their liver is so overburdened. So they're just like kind of overreactive and oversensitive to everything. They have issues with hormonal clearances like PMS, estrogen dominance patterns. There can be skin issues like acne and rashes. Again, the liver is too congested, it's coming out on the skin. Constipation or sluggish digestion, headaches, especially with pressure or fullness. And when the body feels backed up, it's not processing well. And then this is one of the first places we need to support. And then you can also think about combining like these remedies, like, okay, so like lycopodium or nux vomica or sepia, these are really good liver remedies, arsenic amalgam, phosphorus, right? Well, liver support along one of those remedies can be very helpful because sometimes things can like we can start pushing things out, and a liver remedy can really help support us. Okay. Kidneys is another one to think about. Liver and kidneys are our main two ways we detoxify. So, kidneys, we're thinking filtration, we're thinking fluid balance, we're thinking deeper depletion. So, if there's a fluid balance issue, we do want to think of kidneys. Puffiness, fluid retention, chronic UTIs, bladder infections, lower back weakness or aching, burnout states, adrenal states. For sure, a lot of times I would give adrenal as well as kidney, sensitivity and inability to handle stress, right? That's also is also kidney adrenal access here. Um, and this is deeper than detox. It's about resilience and filtration at a core level. Okay. Another one is lymphatics I give as well. This is like stagnation, buildup, stuckness. So there's swollen glands, there's frequent illness, there's slow to recovery, there's skin eruptions that aren't clearing, there's heaviness, there's sluggishness, there's history of suppression, steroids, antibiotics, all of this. This is when we want to think of the lymph, and of course you can do all the rebounding and do all the big six and do all of that. That's all going to be helpful, right? But, sometimes we need some energetic support as well. So when things aren't moving, the body feels bogged down. Lymph support can help initiate flow. Thyroid is another one I give a lot. This is metabolism, pace, underfunctioning, energy. Sometimes I give T3. This is hypothyroid patterns, low energy, cold, slow metabolism, weight loss resistance, hair thinning, hormonal imbalances, long-term stress and burnout. Obviously, thyroid and adrenals, very, very connected. And it's not replacing thyroid function, but just gently nudging the thyroid to help regulate when the system is underperforming. Okay. Adrenals, you're going to think about stress adaptation, survival mode. You're going to think about chronic fatigue, but feeling wired at the same time, anxiety, overwhelm, sleep dysregulation, crashes after stress, long history of pushing and overriding. When this is paired with nervous system work, helping the body come out of that constant strep loop is really important, right? Because they're in this chronic survival space. Okay. Um, there are other ones too we can think of. Cerebellum is good for the brain. I learned about this from Anka Zimmerman in my Healing Family with Homie, no, Healing the Next Generation course, but like healing complex children. So cerebellum is one she has introduced me to, and this is good for regulation, sensitivity, like overwhelm, neurological symptoms like autism, brain fog, highly sensitive to all stimuli, but also could be good in post-concussion or trauma history, emotional overwhelm, time to physical symptoms, clients who feel neurologically on edge, dysregulated. This can be supportive. There's ovary or uterus that we could use as well, and this could be good for hormonal rhythms, stored emotions, cyclical imbalances, so like painful or regularly irregular cycles, PCOS, fertility changes, emotional intensity around cycles, history of birth control suppression. This could be combined with something like folliculinum and carcinosin and other hormonal remedies like lachesis and sepia and all these other really, really great ones. So it's just another way to give the body a little bit of a boost. But um, there is also both a physical and emotional component here. It's really just hormonal, by the way. When you have PCOS or, fertility issues or, all of that, it's usually emotional component with that. I wanted to tie that in. So, of course, I'm not giving all of these at once. I'm not using them to override the body. I'm looking at where the system is struggling the most and supporting the areas that need deeper work. Just like constitutional homeopathy and emotional healing, that way those things could actually land a little better. All right. So the goal is not to micromanage every organ. It is to support the system in ways that restore flow so the body can start doing what it already knows how to do. Okay. So, again, it's just another tool in my toolbox that I've been using and I wanted to share. I take a polyorgan, like I mentioned myself. I take polyorgan plus, which has a lot of different remedies in it, all in X potencies. And I found it to be very good at supporting drainage and supporting my system when I feel like it needs a little boost with detoxification. Um, I have an MTHFR blend, which I use as well, which is also is really good for detoxification. So there's a lot of tools in the toolkit for the homeopath and ways that they can support you. And Sarcodes is just one other tool that we use. Like we use flower essences, tissue. I use flower essence, tissue salts, remedies, homeopathic remedies, and also organ supports, right? So I hope that this was a supportive video and you learned a little bit about Sarcodes and what they actually are. Again, they're just organ supports made from healthy organ tissue, and they give your body like a little bit that organ, like an energetic boost, and helps regulate those organs. Um, I want you to know this video is also posted on my Substack. If you're not over there, please join me over at Bright Light Wellness. You now get 2 free courses when you join my Substack. So you will now get my Blue Blockers Guide, which is a 30-minute video on how, when, where, and why to use blue blockers, and also a ebook that goes with it. And you will also get my Homeopathy for first aid, which goes over all uses of first aid, homeopathic remedies for first aid use, like I smashed my finger in the door, or I got a concussion, or I have a fever, or my kid has, I don't know, like my kid has a bloody nose, like all these little things, right? All these acute things that come up. So you can go check that out. That one is an hour-and-a-half video with an ebook as well. So when you join my Substack as a paid subscriber, you get those 2 videos plus all my other paid content, which is pretty enormous. And I have tons of other free content on there as well. So go check over at Substack if you're not on there yet. And of course, I am taking new clients. So if you want to work with me one-to-one, I can support you. Organ support is something that I do. I make custom blends for people as well. So always looking in more ways to give people some extra energetic boosts and supports in their lives. And taking organ support has been really, really helpful. And it's something I highly recommend if your practitioner is not using it before any kind of detox clears, like things like that. We need to absolutely think of organ support before we just try to, detox drug layers, medication layers from people. We need to make sure detox pathways are open. It's very important, or even mold, or even heavy metals, or whatever. Whatever we're trying to remove from the system, we must make sure detox pathways are open and clear and running. Otherwise, they're going to not feel good and they're going to come back to you upset. So we want to make sure that those things are up and running. So I hope this video has been helpful. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Please share them below. And let me know what else you want to know more about. I'm always looking to tailor my content towards you and how I can support you. So please tell me what else you want to know. And I will catch you guys on the next video. Have an awesome rest of your day.